Hello and welcome back to KSP Real Solar System campaign. I'm just about to do a proper test of our landing module for the Mars mission right here. And of course, to do a proper test of this module, we really have to do an actual re-entry. And although re-entering the Earth atmosphere is not quite the same as re-entering the Mars atmosphere, this test will give us a good indication of how the craft performs aerodynamically, whether it's stable or not, or if it's just going to flip over in the wrong direction. Of course, the Mars atmosphere is pretty thin, and as such the re-entry here on Earth is going to offer a lot more resistance in terms of the atmosphere. It's going to generate a lot more pressure and heat on the heat shield. On the other hand though, re-entering the Earth atmosphere really only requires parachutes, whereas parachutes can certainly be quite handy while re-entering at Mars, but you really need some engines to cushion the landing on Mars as well as those parachutes. And so But as you can see, the test here is going pretty well. The craft survived the re-entry on Earth here, and if it can survive that, it will certainly survive a re-entry on Mars as well. I was going to test the engines, and then that happened, yeah. So for the next test, I made sure to decouple the heat shield while not being dropping down vertically, so that apparently the heat shield had a lot more lift to it than the spacecraft itself. But yeah, what I was really going to test here were the engines on the craft, but I forgot to make the fuel tank on this small spacecraft a service module, so those engines does not work. But luckily we figured out this during the test, and of course we can make some corrections to the final spacecraft that will actually go to Mars. Apart from that though, the parachutes works pretty well, and this craft has no problem landing on Earth. We can also do a small test of the rover itself here. Although we have tested this many times, or not many times, we have tested it before at the Space Center itself. But we can and the rover seems to be working fine, although the wheel configuration could use a bit of work, I guess. But now it is finally time to launch our Mars mission, to launch our rockets that will take our spacecraft on a mission to explore the Red Planet. The spacecraft has been tested, the problems have been ironed out, and the necessary corrections have been made, and this ought to be enough to launch a successful Mars mission. So just sit back and enjoy our journey there. And here we are, we have arrived at Mars. Well, at least we are in the sphere of influence of Mars, and you can see the planet down right here. Now, we have 1700 meters of delta V left after that journey and all the course correction burns we had to do. But I'm going to make one final course correction burn, as we are getting pretty close to Mars here, so hopefully that will not take up too much delta V. Now, I'm not entirely sure how much delta V we need to do a orbital insertion here. I did read something about 900 meters per second, and we certainly have enough for that. But I do want to try to do some sort of aero braking, because as you can see, after all, we have this nice heat shield on one end here. So I'm going to well, I don't really know where Mars's Mars's atmosphere starts, so I'm going to drop our periaps down to 100 kilometers roughly, and with the heat shield pointed in the right direction, that will hopefully give us some braking power while not killing us completely. So just going to make this adjustment here and let's see, it's going to take a couple of hundred meters per second of that to get. So that is going to burn for a little over 30 seconds, and we can follow. I'm just going to cancel that node right now, so we're getting down to 2 million meters now, and I'm going to cut there and make another node. Try to get a little bit better. So we just need to burn off another 10 meters per second here in a slightly different direction. So I'm going to use the RCS for that. We have quite a bit of RCS fuel on this particular spacecraft. And there we go. That is pretty much perfect in terms of getting it down to 100 kilometers. So now we are going to wait until we get a bit closer to Mars. Just one thing I want to do right now. I do want to collect all the science data I can from space high above Mars, since I won't really have, well, I don't think I will have many opportunities to do that later on, so I just need to find all these science instruments, and then we'll transmit all that data. Okay, so we are starting to approach the atmosphere of Mars right now, and I'm going to make some preparations here for the incoming aero brake maneuver. So I'm going to retract all the solar panels, because I don't want to lose them. And one problem we have is that I'm not going to have any connection with Earth while I'm behind here on this side, and I'm not going to get a connection until I reappear over here, so that might pose a slight problem actually, but let's get this spacecraft pointed in the right direction. Okay, so it appears we have entered the atmosphere of Mars at about 120 kilometers. Now, for some reason, I don't have connection with the Earth, but I do have control over the spacecraft, which I've noticed before as well. I think it has something to do with the remote tech mod, and I'm not sure if this aerobraking is going to be very effective here. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna have to fire up the engine, I guess, because I am not nearly deep enough into the atmosphere to really affect the orbit much here. So this is not really doing any sort of, not doing any aerobraking of dimension. So I'm going to point us over here and then fire up the main engine here, and also going to burn with the RCS. Not sure how much delta V I need to go into orbit, but we are going to just keep burning until we achieve orbit. So I do think we are getting close to getting our orbit, but as you can see, our fuel level is really low. We only have 1 minute left of fuel here, and but I do think we'll be able to get orbit, but just barely. And we are also out of the atmosphere at the moment. So it's starting to bend, but I need to bend a bit quicker. Come on now. I really need to get this orbit, or the mission is not really going to be that successful in the end. But it does look like it will work. Come on. Come on now. Burning everything I have. RCS and all. And there we go. We have orbit. Although the orbit is going to be highly eccentric, and I'm not going to have much fuel to maneuver with, but still, at least we have an orbit. And we're also going to raise that so that we don't crash back down into Mars. And I've cut the engine there, and yeah, this is a bit ridiculous. Our lights on the spacecraft is actually lighting up the ground on Mars from 250 kilometers above the surface. Yeah, that is a bit silly. But anyway, yes, our Mars mission has been pretty successful so far, although our delta V margins here were really slim. But anyway, we got our orbits, and the only thing that remains is to land our rover and drive it around the surface of Mars. Anyway, make sure you catch the follow-up episode of KSP Real Solar System Campaign. I sure hope you enjoyed this video as well, so take care and bye.